Welcome to Cosmic Compass, the leading astrocartography podcast where we talk all about locational astrology and predictive timing. And today, on today's episode, we have Julie Dean Richards from Feminine Alchemist. I'm so excited to have her on. She does astrocartography, Zodiacal Releasing. She's traveling the country with her kids doing this work. And she's part of my certification program and my directory of readers. So it's such an honor to have you on, Julie.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Helena. It's just so great to be here with you. A pleasure.
Yeah, and I was actually on your podcast earlier this year, and it was such a fun episode. We talked about so much business, authenticity, leading from your heart, so many things. Such a great episode. I'll be sure to link it in the show notes if they'd like to listen. I have it on YouTube as well. But I want to ask you, how did you get to where you are? How did you get to this place that you're in right now of traveling the country, doing astrology? Like, how did you get here?
That is a great question because my career actually starts in research. So I worked for a huge tech hub for a long time. I was a research consultant for like Harvard, Yale, Google, Amazon, all the big players, consulting on the logistics of their research and all of those kinds of things, which actually led me to go to law school. So some people might not know that I'm an attorney. So online, I'm the Astrological Attorney, which is really fun. And people ask me all the time, like, how can you go from being an attorney in this like very logical space, working so much with, numbers and science to now being an astrologer? Like, isn't that the exact opposite? And I would say, actually, they're so much more linked than people know. Both of them require kind of this ability to interpret data, right? And to learn the linguistics and to be able to understand a new language. And so for me, I had been an astrologer before I went to law school. So I got really into astrology because I had a friend. I met this woman at an herbalist retreat. So I decided to, try some more alternative things after doing a bunch of research for myself, trying to work through some health issues. So I turned to some herbs and I met this woman and she was like, "You would love my niece. She is an amazing astrologer." And I was like, "I don't know about astrology. Like, I have no idea what I think about it." But I met her and we just like hit it off. And like little did I know, she was already like a very well paid astrologer, like a professional. And I had no idea. I was just like asking her all these questions. And honestly, she basically mentored me like one on one. And I just like, it was like once I saw the chart, like when she pulled up my birth data, we had only been friends for like 1 minute. We'd only known each other for 1 minute. And then she pulled up all my data and started telling me my life's problems. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is real. And it was like, I had to learn more. And it was almost familiar to me. Like I had known this language and I was relearning it. And so I was one of those, probably exactly like you, who dived in and was really like, I have to read everyone's charts. I like think back to like me trying to read people's charts knowing nothing, and all the things that I said, and I was like, oh, now I'm like embarrassed. But that's the best way to learn, is to just do it. Like you have to just do it. And so then I went to law school, but astrology was like deeply ingrained in me and on my heart, and I got pregnant with my third daughter like 7 weeks into law school. So it was like incredibly intense. I was really going on this upward climb, and I had just been like, okay, I think I can understand this law school thing. I think I can do it, because it just like makes you cry every day. Like everyone just cries, you know. you
Oh.
you get your cold calls and you're reading hundreds of pages a day and like trying to, learn all this new stuff. And then I find out that I'm pregnant with my third. I was literally in a headstand. I was doing a headstand, doing yoga, and like my uterus shifted. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant. I know I'm pregnant. I ran downstairs. I took a test. And sure enough, I was like, holy crap, I'm pregnant. And my like 2-year-old was like, holy crap. He
Oh
just like
my
mimics me.
goodness. Oh.
So I had to figure out, at that point was a huge turning point for me, because I was in a lot of these really masculine systems. And I was like, I have to learn how to do this my own way. There's no way I can do law school and be pregnant and, do all the things I want to do. And so that's when I really deep dived into the feminine, which I would say astrology is a huge part of that. And for me,
Mhm.
at least for me, it was a huge part of understanding my cycles, understanding how I work, understanding my own timing, and letting everything else go and figure out how do I get into a feminine flow and not worry about all of this other stuff. And so I ended up getting really great grades in law school, passing the bar, doing all those things. But during that time, I think it was shortly after, maybe it was during my pregnancy. It might have been just afterwards. I was listening to the Astrology podcast, and that's how I found you. I listened to your episode. I was like, I can't not get more of this. Like, I have to. I had heard a little bit about locational astrology. I listened to this like Astrology and You podcast or whatever, and she mentioned it one time. But your episode really like opened my eyes. It drew me to you so deeply,
Wow.
and I was like, I have to learn how to do this. Like, I'm going to learn this. And I literally, I think I was like the last person to sign up for your first locational astrology course right before it closed. I was like, oh my gosh, they're almost like halfway through. I like snuck in the doors and I like ate it up. Like I couldn't stop doing it. I was like, I am integrating this immediately. I will buy solar fire. And so many things just started coming through and like manifesting for me as soon as I chose that. I had to do the certification. Obviously, I was the first cohort to go through the certification. And yeah, and then graduated, passed the bar, and I just was like, this is what I love. I
Wow.
love doing astrology. I love the feminine. I love the podcasting. So I never looked back. And we decided as a family, we want to test this. We want to move around the country. We want to see how well, and that's how I am, right? The researcher in me is like, we've got to do an experiment, and like
Oh,
doing so
yeah.
many experiments with this, with our lines, with everything that's happening. So now here we are traveling around in a tent, campsite to campsite,
Oh my
doing our
God.
thing.
That's incredible. I'm so curious when you said researcher, what's your human design type? Do you know your profile?
Yeah, I'm a reflector, but I'm a 4-6.
Wow, you're a reflector. Oh my gosh, that's one of the most rare. It's the most rare type. That's incredible. And I love
Yeah.
the four profile about bringing community together, and that's such a huge part of your work, right? With the program that you have. The it's is it a membership that you are doing?
Yes, yeah. We call it the school, but it works like an annual membership. Yeah, and we bring a huge
Amazing.
community together. It's been so beautiful, but I'm always like the 4-6 is the best.
Yeah, 4-6 is great. Yeah. Leadership, you know? I'm always curious about like human sign type and all of the placements and everything. So, wow. So you're traveling the country. Where are you right now? Do you know what astrocartography line and paran and all that you're closest to?
Yes. So I'm on a Saturn IC line right now, actually. Which I have lived on. So, Saturn, he always drags you back. He always,
Hmm.
he won't let go of you. You stay there for a long time. So, previously, I lived on this line for 10 years where I am now. But this is part of the reason we decided to be here right now was I've been doing a ton of background work in my business. I've been really deep diving and trying to set up some systems that'll give us some more freedom. And, the Saturn on the IC, like, yes, is it lonely sometimes? Yeah. Is it restricting sometimes? Yeah. But does it make you work your tail off? Yeah, for sure. You will work your freaking tail off. So it's
Yeah.
been really good as I've been going inward, and I don't know if you do know anything about numerology, but I'm in a month 7, which is all about like seeking and researching and working through that. So it's been the perfect energy for that.
Amazing. I love that you love numerology as well because I'm starting to get more into it. My coach actually just mentioned something called Destiny Matrix. I don't know if you know what that is. So I've been kind of going down a rabbit hole on that and just learning more about the numbers and what they represent and everything. That's incredible. So how do you like the Saturn IC line? I mean, has it been more difficult for you or has it been overall a more like there's pros and cons? Has it been a place that kind of resembles the Saturn IC line is really big on like location and home and family and place and building structure in your home life or even your relationship to family, your parents, etc. Have you had any of those themes? Well, you've been here for 10 years, but has that been like an ongoing theme being on this line or close to this astrocartography line?
Yeah, there's so much about this. I think part of the thing that I see with this Saturn IC line, well, one thing I need to say for everyone, as far as like the nuance goes, I am a sun baby. I'm a day chart. So I was
Mhm.
born at 3:44 p.m. I'm a Cancer sun, but I'm a Capricorn moon. So I'm a full moon baby and I'm a Scorpio rising. So for me, Saturn's not necessarily, trying to hurt me. Not that he's trying to hurt everybody or whatever if he's your
Mhm.
malefic, but he's not my malefic. So he's a little
Mhm.
easier on me than I think he might be for somebody else. That's the first thing I'd say. But this place where I'm in brings out a lot of tradition. So much
Mhm.
tradition. Traditional. My husband's family lives here and they are very, very traditional. Like when I talk to them about astrology, they're always like, "Oh, okay, that's nice." They
Yeah.
don't like love like chatting. It's fun for them sometimes. We've come a long way from the beginning, but there's a lot of like traditionalist values in this area. It does make me feel like I need to work hard, and working from home and working at my home. That was a really big theme here. I actually graduated from college here. So, again, a lot of like doing that research and that slow build, right? I do feel like it's a slow build. And I would say, and this is like the harder piece of it, because it is a Saturn IC line, it can be lonely. Like you want to be with friends, even though I should have this great community here. And I do. I do have a great community. I have friends. I do have a lot of fun here. So it's not like it's horrible all the time. But I do feel some restriction in that, or like difficulties. Like whenever we visit here, because I haven't been living here the past 4 years. So whenever we visit and come back, I always feel like something happens, like something weird happens, right? This is also a place, or like difficult with relationships, or difficulty to our home. Like last time we were here, there was our house back in Kentucky actually ended up flooding while we were gone. And there was
Wow.
like a literal difficulty in our home while we were
Wow.
like restriction. And then other things that I've noticed, my back issues are worse here, my spine, right? So
Yeah.
Saturn's the bones, issues
Yeah.
with my bones. I discovered that I had scoliosis, a curve in my back when I was
Wow.
here. Yeah. So
So literal.
very literal. And teeth,
Wow.
like
Yeah.
teeth issues here. Yeah, like,
Mhm.
and so I feel like it's very, very real for me. But I will say, on the lighter side, it's not like it's been the worst thing ever. It's not like I've hated every moment living here. Like I have so many good memories here. And I'm a Capricorn moon, so I
Yeah.
kind of like the research aspect, and I like this growth and achievement piece, and there is that here too.
Mhm.
So it's not all bad, but
Mhm.
it's not easy. It's definitely not the
Mhm.
easiest place I've lived for sure.
Yeah, I can totally resonate with you because I live on my Saturn ascendant line, and it's the same. It's like I stepped into maturity, responsibility, but it's very lonely, very isolating. I'm not super social here. Like I have to really push myself to like go meet up with people, which when I'm in California where I was born and raised, when I'm in New York City, like all these other places I go to in the world, I travel, I have meetups, I meet up with people, I meet up with some of my followers as I'm traveling. I'm so social. It's really just here that I'm like a little hermit. And I do attribute that to the Saturn line for sure.
Oh, it totally is. It totally
Yeah.
is the Saturn line. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the last 4 years, where have you been based?
So I actually was on my North Node line, my North Node ascendant line. Yes, I know.
Wow.
Yeah. So the
How
funny
did that
thing is,
manifest?
yeah, so fascinating. The funny thing is, we picked it, right? We picked Kentucky before I knew anything about locational astrology. So it was the perfect place for me to go get a law degree. And, it really brought me to my destiny. I felt like being there. It's on the ascendant, right? So a lot of it was about me. And it's interesting because we really shifted our whole life around me to be able to do that, right? Even though my husband was still working, but he changed jobs so that I could go to law school. And like everything was revolving around me being able to go to law school, me being able to do my work, me being able to come into what I loved. I
Yeah.
found the feminine what during this time, like, right, my life path. I started my business and my school. I passed the bar. So it was very like pushing me to my destiny and like meeting people. I will say the interesting thing is it's not like I have tons of friends in Kentucky. I don't. I actually don't. I can think of like one or two friends there. I don't have any parent lines there. Actually, that's a lie. That's a lie. I do have a Venus Hygeia parent there.
Ooh, very
hmm
nice.
So
Cool.
femininity and putting things in order and like the health of women and all of that kind of stuff, right? Coming to fruition really deeply. My sister and my mom both moved to Kentucky while I was there. So again,
Wow.
like everyone rallying around me, right?
Yes.
Around who I was. So I
Yeah.
felt like that was very strong. And then my husband's experience, which was so interesting. His name's Moth, like a butterfly, like moth.
I
And
love that.
which is great. It comes from Timothy, Tim Mothy. But he had a Pluto ascendant line there. Yes, and a Mercury. I think it's his Mercury IC line. It might
Yeah.
be, or
So his
his
Mercury
Mercury
and his
MC.
Pluto are squared in his chart.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. It's not. I lied. I lied to you. It can't be because his Mercury and Pluto are on top of each other. They're conjunct.
Oh, so they're conjunct. Okay, so it's
So
Mercury ascendant and
ascendant.
Pluto ascendant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mercury and Pluto ascendant. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Wow.
Yeah.
What happened to him when he was there?
Yeah. So he so fascinating. It completely changed his whole life, right? His whole career changed. He like his old career died. Literally,
Wow.
he used to work in sales and in tech, and it completely died. He completely transformed into now he's a screenwriter. So that Mercury,
That's
yes. So
Mercury,
he's
yeah.
been doing so
And
much writing.
sales too, is Mercury as well, being a
Yes.
salesperson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And he also, yeah, so now he got like this dream job, like dropped into his lap where he has now written a screenplay for a famous athlete and now they're looking for a producer, which is amazing. So that Pluto was really strong, but the downsides of the Pluto was he was always more tired. He had a lot more physical issues when
Mm,
we moved to Kentucky. He had a lot of headaches. Had a lot of difficulty on his body, which I attribute to
mm.
that Pluto ascendant on him.
Yeah. Yeah.
He does have a Jupiter Mars pair in there, which helped him to like really get through things and be brave and to like
Mhm.
fight and because it was hard. Having 3 kids and being in law school is really hard. And
Yeah.
he had to take on so much responsibility and do so much and it really gave him the bravery to like let go of his old career and jump into something new that
Wow.
his dream and allowing him to write so well. His words are so powerful and it really amplified that, right? Like the power of his
Wow.
words, the power of what he was doing. But physically, it was quite tiring for him, right? So really busy because Mercury's always busy. I don't care, quite busy, but like he does not want to go back to Kentucky. Even though good things happen there, he's like, oh, it's too intense, right? It's like that Pluto. It's just too intense. Actually, his moon is what gets relocated to the sixth house.
Ooh, fascinating. Yeah, the moon, is one of the top luminaries that represents your body. The moon in traditional astrology represents your body. So having it relocate to the sixth, that's tough. Sixth house. I mean, the sixth house is injury, illness, but it can also represent like the desire to find self-care in your daily to-dos, your everyday tasks, or your health. I actually have that placement here in France as well. It relocates to the sixth. So very interesting. Wow.
Yeah, well, a lot of emotions, his emotions causing physical difficulties sometimes,
Yeah.
feeling overwhelmed, like big
Yeah.
feelings of overwhelm. He also, during this time, has been going through Chiron, transiting his moon as well. So super
Timing.
intense for him. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that
Yeah.
timing layer is so important. And when you think about all these places that you've been traveling to, do you have a favorite astrocartography line or a favorite Paran latitude that you've been on?
Yeah, so this is going to sound so cliche, but I love my Jupiter line. My Jupiter midheaven line is so lovely for me.
Wow. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it follows the East Coast. So it goes like right through Raleigh, North Carolina, and all the way down. So I get some of it whenever I'm on the East Coast, particularly in like North Carolina, South Carolina, and then Florida, right where it sticks out more. And on this travel, it was like magic. The most interesting thing, because we visited North Carolina and I went to a retreat there. It wasn't my retreat, it was hosted by someone else. They invited me to come. And but even though I was just a participant, everyone was like obsessed with asking me like about, my work and like we want to work with you and like what do you do and like you're so amazing and just I want to listen to your podcast and I it just opened my eyes to like, oh my gosh, this line is crazy powerful.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
hadn't been on it like I had been so we had visited Florida. We always loved visiting Florida and I think my Jupiter line was part of that and loving the beach and all of those things. But this was like the first time I was really at like the peak of its power because in Florida it's like 2 degrees or 3 degrees away. This is like right on my midheaven. And so just everyone looking to me, asking me questions, wanting to be part of my stuff. Like I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is the power of astrocartography," right? Like this is what it feels like to be on your
Oh,
Jupiter
yeah.
line.
Oh, yeah, and it's so external, right? That midheaven is like things coming to you from your career, your reputation, how people see you. It's so external. I have never been to my Jupiter MC, but I've been to my Jupiter ascendant and Jupiter descendant and the IC, and the descendant and the ascendant more external, just kind of similar to the MC. Similar feelings. Do you have this sense of like confidence of like even when you're having a bad day, it's like there's this hope, this faith, this optimism of like it'll get better, it'll work out. Did you notice that you had any feelings of that Jupiterian faith when you were or anywhere close to the East Coast?
Oh, totally. I always feel like I'm like, "Oh, everything's going to be okay. It's going to be
Yeah.
brighter." And the interesting thing is because, anyone who's ever done this before and you've done it cuz you travel a ton, but when you pack up your whole life, right? When you sell everything cuz we sold like everything. We got rid of everything. We emptied our house, we sold it and it was just really hard. Hard on a physical. My Venus is in Taurus, and so deep
Oh,
connection to things and physical objects and letting go of those was really difficult for me.
yeah.
And also just feeling like, is my business going to take off? Like, is this going to work? And it's not like I don't have steady work. I do, but I make about the same each month and, harder to get that build where it's like really sustaining us. We want it to sustain us.
Yeah.
But when I was in North Carolina, especially, it was like, oh, everything's going to be okay. Even though I'd had so much, also because of all the stress, physical changes, right? I gained so much weight like really quickly right before we left. And I think a lot of that was really just so much stress, just been
Uh,
such a stressful couple years. But when
yeah.
I was there, it was like, oh, I don't have to care about my body. Like everyone is magnetized to me anyway. I don't have to
Mhm.
care that I, have gained weight or whatever. I can be
Mhm.
happy. And you know how Jupiter is just like so expansive that it's like, yeah, we like a little fat. It's fun.
Yeah.
Like it's fun to be like
Oh,
have a little
yeah.
extra on your body. And I was like, yeah, it's like fun to be a little curvy over
Yeah.
here and like let it be that way. And so that was really helpful and super healing as we like traveled down that line for sure.
Beautiful. Yeah, Jupiter loves to indulge. Like if there's fun, Jupiter will be there, you know? Do you have any plans to maybe go back and travel back to that Jupiter line? Or what are your plans with your travels next? Because you're going to a lot of places.
Yeah. So our trip so far, so we have been to 13 states in like 2 months. It's been so
Wow.
rapid. Yeah, so rapid. I have 3 little kids. So the way that we're doing this is we have a minivan, of course, classic, and we pack our tent in the minivan and then we sometimes we do stay with friends, but mostly we go from campground to campground. We use Hip Camp and we go to these different places. We stay there for a few days and then we pack up and we leave. And it's just been so fascinating to see how it's affected me and not just me, like my kids, their lines, how it affects them, and what parts of their personalities get brought out during this phase. And so, yeah, we basically traveled like from Kentucky through Virginia, Tennessee, then North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, right? Then we did the Panhandle, we did Texas, we went all the way up through New Mexico, Arizona, we did the Grand Canyon, all of those kinds of things, and then went up to Zion's and Utah. So it's been like such a wild ride. We loved Louisiana, actually. We loved New Orleans. That was so fun, which is actually like the peak of my North Node line, that North Node ascendant. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Goes down to New Orleans. So we absolutely loved that. And it's far enough away from my husband's like Pluto line that it's not as intense for him. It's a lot lighter
Cool.
for him. He enjoys it a lot. So do we have having plans to go back? We do. This summer, we plan to travel up. So we're going to go up through Idaho. I'm going to host a retreat and then we're going to go back across the top of the US and then down again. So we will do
Cool.
like this semicircle
Wow.
around, and we have thought about like, okay, in the end of this, what does this look like? We have no idea. We're like, we don't know.
Yeah.
We're going to travel probably forever, but if we had to pick a place to settle down, it would honestly probably be, and I know this will be shocking to a lot of people, but honestly it will probably be Florida, because everybody has good lines there. That, when you're
Wow.
traveling for five, right, when you're looking for five people, it's
Oh, yeah.
really hard to find a spot
Yes.
that like works for everyone in a way that's like beneficial. And so that spot is a little bit of a safe haven for most of us, for all of us in some way. And so probably, I don't know, who knows, maybe we're going to go overseas and do this, we don't know, but we're going to keep finding out what works for us first.
Yeah, so you're testing the astrocartography in real time with your family of five. So this is so incredible because I mean, I have so many questions, but the first one is, as a family of five, how do you how have you noticed the astrocartography affecting your kids? Have you noticed, is it been more, the ascendant shifting and you've noticed the ascendant coloring their personalities more? Has it been more the astrocartography lines themselves? Have you noticed any difference in latitude or parents? What's it been like as a mother, watching your kids, shift when you travel?
Yeah, I think the first thing I have to say is it really does affect them. I think sometimes we forget as adults. And I would say, we talk about this a lot because people always have the question of how do I decide a place for five people or multiple people? And, when you have a lot of people, there always is probably going to be somebody who has a more difficult time. And that's just the way that it goes. Like, it's not going to be perfect for everybody. And sometimes we need the tougher time. Sometimes we need that tough line in our lives, and it teaches us a lesson. So when I do work with couples and things like that, yes, I do think it is a good rule to focus on the parents and allow the energy to follow, because if the parents are doing well, they will have more resources to help the struggling children and to do everything. Whereas if the parents are struggling, even if the kids are on good lines, it can be a really tough time for everybody involved. So I just want to put that out as a caveat. But uh, astrocartography affects children just as much as it affects adults, and I can see that 100%. And I see it with parents, with the ACG lines, right, with their shifts in their chart. A couple things. So a parent can make a huge difference. So I'll give an example. My daughter is like great to use this for. So she's our youngest. She's going to turn three this week. But when we first visited North Carolina, she was having a little bit of a tough time. This was a couple of years ago, we went to visit, and she was having a tougher time. And then we went down to Charlotte, and when she was in Charlotte, she was like a different kid. She was like so happy and dancing, and she was like putting her hand on her heart and like swaying in the library, just like having the best time of her life. And I was like, she has to have something here, like she has to have something here. So we go back, and sure enough, she has a Venus Selena line, that parent right there.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Incredible.
Yes. Like literally so strong. Every time we go back, she loves Charlotte. Like she just like is so lit up there. So parents make such a big difference. And then compared to when we're here, this is her worst nightmare. We're being in this like Utah area because not only does she have a Mars, I can't remember, is it Mars on the ascendant line? I'll have to pull up her chart.
Mm.
But she not only does she have this Mars line, she also has a Pluto on the ascendant line. Yep, Mars
Wow.
and Pluto, and she also has Chiron all crossing in this area. Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot. That's a
Yeah, it's so
lot.
tough for
Wow.
such a tiny human, right? Like it's a
Yeah.
lot for a tiny human. And she
Yeah.
is like more sassy here than she has ever been, like angry. She gets like weird bloody lips here,
Ooh,
like
yeah.
crazy physical stuff. She always is the one who gets sick here. Always. She always ends up getting sick. She always ends up getting mad. She's like way more angry with her brothers. She fights them so much more. And she just like has such a tough time here. And it is insane when we literally, it happens as soon as we get into the range of those planets, like so fast. It was like we got into New Mexico, and I knew we got into New Mexico because she was like, ah! She started freaking out,
Wow.
crying. Yes. And last time we were here, when we drove home, literally as soon as we got to like Denver, where the lines, where she couldn't feel them anymore, like they were far enough away, she was fine. She was her normal
Wow.
self. Yeah,
Wow.
happy to be
Yeah.
herself. Yeah. The East Coast is a little bit harder for our middle child, for my little boy
Mm.
Leander. And but it's not quite, as long as he's on a less difficult paran, he can handle it. Like
Yeah.
it's not a big deal. But when he's not, it's a little tougher for him, which just goes to show, right? Like the energy that you're on, it really shifts. It's so layered. It's very layered. It's very nuanced. He's got a lot of like Chiron and Pluto on the East Coast side. And so it's
Mm.
getting him to the right, I guess, length away,
Yeah.
and for him to the right parent that like makes him feel better. And I can tell like when he's feeling better. And what's so funny? It's just so funny to look at how all of their charts are just so different. And this sounds bad, but it's just true. Like sometimes people have easier charts, like easier placements in different countries. Like my oldest, I'm like, oh, everywhere we go is great for him. Like, like he has all these amazing parents everywhere. And like he just is like rocking and rolling and having a great time all the time. Whereas like my middle child and my youngest, I really have to be way more delicate with them because their charts, how it manifests where we live is very different, and it's much more delicate. And they are much more delicate, as like their personality is much more delicate and they're affected more. And it's not like my oldest isn't affected. Like sometimes we'll hit something and he's, got a really hard time. He's sensitive. He's a projector. So he needs a lot of that deep validation and love, and we try to give that to him and try not to just be like, oh, he's the first child, he can handle it. We try to really,
Yeah.
take care of him. But it is interesting. And especially as I've done couples charts and seen a lot of this, like some people, they just have a lot of tough lines in one area. Like they have a more delicate chart and a more delicate sense of self. One woman, she had a Pluto opposing her moon exactly to the
Wow.
degree. And that, oh, it was like no matter where she went, she had a bunch of placements like that, but that was the
Yeah.
worst. It was
Yeah.
kind of like no matter where she went, like significant difficulties, emotional difficulties, health problems, like you name it, just, oh, so hard. And so I do feel for people. And it's hard if people aren't willing to like move out of the country or go different places, but
Mm.
we often are able to find at least some place where they get some relief, which is a relief to me. But it is
Yeah.
true, like sometimes there are tougher, like people have tougher charts in different places.
Yeah, I immediately think of a client that I have, a repeat client. She comes to me every few months, and she and her son are always in alignment and have good things together in a place. But the father, the husband, has some really hard lines anytime that they're in a good location. And then anytime that he's in a really great spot, both the mom and the son have hard lines in that location. So it can be tricky when you have clashing lines in the family. So how do you choose, where you want to live or where you want to go next? Are you letting your intuition lead the way? Are you looking at timing with cyclocartography on the map? Or are you kind of, as you said, you're a researcher, right? Data collecting the information and then deciding from there. How are you kind of navigating this as a parent?
It's a little bit of everything, right? It's a little bit of everything. And I work through it with my husband together. Part of it is like he allows me to do what I love. Like I am really focused on the business and he ends up doing a lot of the planning because I need I need a break, right? Like I cannot do it all. I need his help and he helps so much with the kids. So a little part of it is logic because, there for example, our podcast won an award. So that was like very exciting for us. Woohoo, we won. So,
Yay.
which was great. So we had to go to a festival and be there at a certain time in Florida to get the award. And then, there's other things like I had to be part of a retreat, right? Someone asked me to speak. And so some of the timeline is based off of events that we need and where we need to go and whatever, family reunions. And so there is that logical aspect of it. But there was also this like freedom of where do you want to go? Like, what do you want to see? What have we always wanted? Like, what have we always dreamed of doing and seeing? And as well as like chasing the weather, right? A little bit like we've got to chase the good weather. And so going north when it's hot and going south when it's cold.
Yeah.
And I let my husband take care of a lot of that. And I just tell him whenever I get pings, right, from my intuition is like, we need to go there. I'm like, yes, this is where we're going. Or I will like research a place and I'll be like, this is great for everyone. Like, we must plan this, like, put it on the docket. We're
I love
going for
it.
it. And so this year it ended up like beautifully being this kind of circle thing have like we're going around the US like once and a half times this year, which is so insane and so fun at the same time. But yeah, we use it all, which I think that's the same thing as astrology, right? Like it's a little bit of logic, it's a little bit of intuition, it's a little bit of artistry, it's a little bit of your spiritual gifts, like a little bit of a science all coming together. And that's what I love about it. And I really want you want that element of surprise in some ways because for me as like as a researcher and experimenting and things like that, you want a little bit of that because I just want to see what comes up, right? Like I don't want to manufacture everything. I want to just see how it affects us without like my bias playing into it as much. And so this has been kind of a way where we can work through everything and leave room open for like magic to happen and the universe to take us to where we want to go.
That's beautiful. Oh, I love that so much. And you're living this, you're living the astrocartography, which is so incredible. So tell me, how are you using our other favorite timing technique? Because you love Zodiacal Releasing and you've been tracking the data in your own life with that. Tell me about how you got into Zodiacal Releasing and how you use it.
Yeah. So you're the reason I love Zodiacal Releasing. It's all you. I mean, I have to give a tiny bit of credit to Chris Brennan as well. He talks about it too.
Of
Of
course.
course, she just dropped this like 20-minute video about Zodiacal Releasing and it blew my mind. Like, I was like immediately just like you talked about like obsessed with it. I was like I have to look up everyone I know. I have to look up every important date in my life. I have to know exactly like what kind of period. And it like was one of those things that just like clicked with me very quite quickly. And I think you've said this before also, but I do think it's quite easy. Like it's not super difficult. It's very nuanced and like remembering everything can be difficult and like getting away from trying to push your own bias onto things can be difficult, but the technique itself is quite simple but incredibly powerful. And so I did the trust your timing course. I also listened to Chris Brennan's stuff and he has a million examples, which was nice to hear like different kinds of celebrities and their examples. But now I use it every day. So I was quite incredulous. So, to be honest, the natural skeptic in me was quite incredulous about, oh, this timing technique. So, for people who don't know, zodiacal releasing, as we've been talking about, it's a technique to understand where you are in your life and what period you're in your life. And there's three types of periods. There's preparation periods, peak periods, and post periods. And so it's like going up a mountain, right? Like you're climbing in the preparation period, you're at the peak in the peak period, and then in the post period, you're wrapping everything up. And it gives you exact dates, like when windows open, like for those timing and that period. It can give you when will be more difficult for you, when will be more easeful for you, when are going to be, everybody's looking for the peaks because these are going to be some of the most important times in your life. And I would say this is my own take on it, and you can tell me what you think about this as I've done my research. But as far as peaks go, I imagine them a lot as like it's peak time at Disneyland, meaning like it's going to be hot. You might have to stand in line for a really long time. Everybody's there, right? Everybody's there. And like you might have to stand in line forever and like sweat your butt off. But for Disneyland, that's a big day and like brings in a lot of money and like big things happen. And it's way more eventful, right? Because when you have more people at Disneyland, you're going to have like more fights and more difficulties and more everything. And so everyone's like, oh, peak periods, they're amazing and I love them, but they can also be so tough,
Oh,
like
yeah.
so tough.
Oh,
So,
yes. Some people have difficult peak periods.
yeah.
It really depends on the chart and the placement of the peak period. Is it, have a benefic or is it angular to a benefic? There's so much to it. But yeah, I always say peak periods are like, they're just the most eventful,
Yes.
defining, busy, active time in a person's life. And a lot's going on. So have you been tracking your own zodiacal releasing and noticing like any correlations just on your trip or just recently?
Oh yes. So when I first was getting into this, I was so skeptical about these peak periods being able to see what, when I was, because I would also say peak periods are very visible to the outside world. You're a little more visible during your peak periods.
Mhm.
And so I was like skeptical about this being able to happen. So besides researching my own, I was like, I'm doing an experiment. I will not put a single thing on my calendar for 6 months. Like I will not, if someone wants to have an appointment with me, talk to me, do a podcast with me, they will have to choose the date and the time. I will not do it. And this was actually a lot easier to do because I was in law school. So my days were always the same. Like a lot of my stuff was not planned, but I was still doing my business. I was going on a lot of podcasts. I was doing a lot of stuff with my work. And so I saw like immediately I would just like, I put it all into my calendar, right? Like I would put it always so I would know exactly what period it was. I would journal exactly what happened that day. It was insane. It just like blew my mind. I'll just give like one tiny example, which is about a loosing of the bond, which is like so crazy. But I went on this podcast, which is actually quite a really popular podcast, and she never told me when she was going to drop the episode. She was just like, "I'll drop it sometime, like whatever." And I was like, "Okay, whatever." And I like was looking at my calendar, and I was like, "Oh, I have this big peak. Like I have a major peak period coming up next week. I have nothing planned. Like there's nothing going on in my life." I was like, "Meh, nothing will happen. Like we'll just see." Literally the first day of that peak, it was a peak loosing of the bond, of course. So on that exact day, she drops the episode and it blows up my social media. Like my whole week blows up. I get like tons of people asking to do sessions, like emails, all that kind of stuff. And so just after that, I was like, okay, I'm a believer. Like I trust this. Uh,
Wow.
Yeah, and I just know like if I'm going to have a peak period, my calendar is going to blow up for one reason or another, right? Sometimes it's home stuff that blows up your calendar, sometimes it's work stuff that blows up your calendar. It's not always fun stuff, but like I can trust that my periods, the way they work out. I even was
Okay.
looking at my births and trying to figure out, my first was tough, but your first birth is always tough. It was tough but good, and it had a good outcome. My second birth was like my magic birth, and my third birth was my hardest. It was really really tough. And I noticed that with my third birth, she was born in a double post period, which is my toughest period. So my mutable signs are the toughest for me. Yeah, and so she
Wow.
was the hardest because she was born during a double post. Yeah.
Mhm.
And like
Wow,
my
that's
magic birth
wild.
was
Mhm.
my magic birth, of course, he was born during my easiest period. of course. So it was the easiest, it was my prep. It was where I had Jupiter, right? Like, so it was, of course it was a magic birth, and it showed right on my chart exactly that it was going to be this magic birth. But yeah, I look at it every day. I tell my
Yeah.
clients to look at it. I teach them as much as I can about it, and I've seen huge results with it. Just like absolutely huge results. So,
Yeah. It's incredible. Zodiacal releasing is the timing technique that I'm obsessed with, just getting out into the world, because not a lot of people know about it. Not a lot of people talk about it. We all know transits, but when you use zodiacal releasing in addition, it's mind blowing. I use it also every day. I try to check my every day, but it's fascinating because like when I'm having a hard day, I will go back into my ZR and I notice, oh, it's a cardinal period, which is my most challenging periods. Or when I'm very busy or things are going really well, it's a peak period. My peaks are positive, so it's like it really like amps up that. And same with loosening of the bonds. Like I'll get an idea for something on a foreshadowing period, and then the loosing of the bond is when the thing is like coming out into the world. Or like I'll get an idea, but I'll put it aside, or I won't think about it, or I'll be like, oh, that was just a dream or an idea. But then it comes back around during the loosing of the bond. So Zog releasing, if you guys are not using it already, definitely start using it. Chris Brennan obviously is an incredible resource for learning this. I also have a course called Trust Your Timeline, which you can get down below. But amazing. That's incredible. So you use it out releasing in astrocartography. And so you got into the certification and now you're a reader on my directory, which is just so
yes.
cool. How has it been working for you? Have you been booking clients? Have you been building your business? And how are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I think the certification is amazing. As an astrologer, I had been an astrologer for a while before, right? And I had gone through different courses. I've been mentored by different people, and I'm not just saying this cuz you're interviewing me. I've said this in other interviews when people ask me, but your certification was the best for sure out of what I had learned. And I mean, everybody's different. Everyone has someone that they vibe with, but this is what I loved about it was I loved that number one, you're so knowledgeable, right? Like you've done your homework. It's really easy to tell you've done your homework. I think you and I have a similar wavelength about like Hellenistic astrology and coming from that lens. So that was really lovely being able to learn it in a whole sign perspective, but you just like know your stuff. You took the time. This is part of what I love about the certification is that you took the time to actually like go through every single transit, like every single paran, like what will it look like? What will it feel like? Every single ACG line, every single like timing line. Oh, this is what it looks like when your sun goes, you have a sun line passing through or your Uranus line is passing through, like every single one. And so anyone who's worried, you took the time to break it into like, this is where you find love. This is where you find career. This is where you find places that feel like home, which was huge, right? You did literally, and that's the thing is like, I had come from, the first locational astrology course that you had done, and then you made it into the certification. And so for me, it was such a no brainer to be like, of course I'm going to do the certification because I already knew you were amazing from the locational course. But what for people didn't know in the locational courses, there's so much more in the certification. Like you put in, like I could tell you put your whole heart and soul into it. Like super easy to tell. And again, for me as a Capricorn moon, it's like really important that the stuff is legit, it's validated, right? That you have, some kind of authority behind you or whatever. But, and also you like use your intuition. But for you, you have that a wonderful combination, and the way
Mm,
that you talk is so magical and you make it fun and you talk to people, right? And I loved all the business education that you included. People ask me all the time, like, was it worth it? Would you do it again? I was like, yeah, 100%. I would do it, especially for people who don't have a business background. Like if you're like just getting into astrology and you're like, I don't know what I want to do, I would totally be like, oh, take Helena's. And here's the other thing. Okay, this is like this is a little bit of tea, but like I think I just like have to be super honest about it. Because this is what's really going on. So I had worked for another woman who's certified. So she has a certification as well.
oh,
And it's like a $3,500 certification. Okay. So like not cheap. Um,
wow.
and it was just, and that certification is like, it's basic astrology stuff, right? Like it's like, let me teach you, houses, signs, aspects, and, teach you how to read a birth chart, literally is what it is. It's not even like fully like, let me teach you how to do transits. Yeah. It's not even fully like, let me teach you how to do transits. Okay. And not that the information wasn't good. Information's fine. Information's good. But like, the what you put into your course for so much less is a
Mm,
million more times worth it, right? Like that's
mm.
why I am always like, and I literally was like, I did Q&As for her, and like I got
Wow.
her like a certification and like did all that, and she wasn't like my original. I was already an astrologer. She asked me to come in and help, and so
Yeah.
I came in and help, and I did like the Q&As and answered questions, and I was like one of her, what did she call it? But affiliate astrologers, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just, so when I found like doing your stuff, I was like, oh my goodness, like people are missing out, because even
Yeah.
if you knew zero about astrology, if you knew a zero about astrology, you could learn everything you needed to know by doing your certification, and you could learn the business part, which like, she and lots of, it's not like she's the only one doing this. Like there's a million other astrologers who are doing this, who, it's extra to learn the business stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's extra to do that. And not only that, so this like goes to the directory as far as being in your directory, but not only that, but like after being affiliated with her, so like she would take 30% of my sessions. Yeah, 30% of the cost of my sessions. And then, which I was like, okay, fine, whatever. Like you're finding the people that, I can handle that. At the time, I was like, that's fine. And then she was like, no, actually, I want 50% of what.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. I need 50% of your sessions, and I want to lower the cost of your sessions a little bit. Yeah.
Oh
So
my
it was.
God.
I know. I know. And that was like when I was like, nope, I just like, I can't, like, I'm not going to do this anymore. Not again, not that she's not a good teacher, not
Yeah.
that like she doesn't know what she's talking about, but like, I don't know. I don't know.
It
I
has
don't
to
even know if I
feel
could
right. It
say
has
it.
to feel ethical, like it has integrity,
Yeah.
heart behind
Yeah.
it. I always say
Yeah.
everything in my business is about leading from heart. It has to be honest, it has to be truthful,
Yeah.
it has to lead from service and heart. Gosh, that's awful. Yeah, I know with the certification, it's funny because when I first had the idea to make the certification, I was really burned out doing readings. It was like every day I was getting, 20 inquiries a day being like, please, I'll pay you to do my reading. And I'm like, guys, I'm booked out 6 months in advance. Like I can't keep doing this. I can't plan my life, months in the future because I'm fully booked, and I was overwhelmed. And so I was like, there's got to be a solution to this. And so I thought of certification. And then I thought, well, if I had like a team of readers that they could build their businesses, they get word of mouth referrals. One of the readers on the directory, someone found her, booked a reading with her on the directory, and now she's like the astrology, like in-house astrologer for this other brand, and like is their go-to astrologer. And it's like you never know how one person could find you and that starts off something for you, or like builds a long-term relationship with something, right? And so I had to decide with the certification in the directory, is it going to be a percentage where you can just be part of the directory? Anyone, if you pass and certify, you can be part of the directory, but then I get a percentage of every part of it. Or there's a monthly membership fee to be on the directory, and you can book as many as you want, and I don't get a percentage or anything like that. And so I had to decide between the two, and the one that felt more like aligned heart and like honest felt like the membership versus the taking percentage out. And it's interesting because I've been doing a lot of research lately on like human design readers that have a lot of directories out there. Like I think Jenna Zoe had one for a long time. I've booked like 3 human design readers from her directory, but she closed it down, I think, in the last year or two. And it's interesting because also I think with hers too, it was a membership percentage, but everyone has their own program, and it's all different. And I think that's really cool as entrepreneurs is we're able to kind of pass the torch or pass the baton to other astrologers, the next up and coming astrologers, to help build their businesses, or human design readers. If you have a directory for human design, it's like getting more voices out there. Because I keep saying this, but all hands on deck. We need all hands on deck. We need more astrologers. We need more heart led people that want to help others, because Jupiter is about to enter Cancer. And I'm telling you, with the North Node in Pisces and Jupiter in Cancer, the faith, the spiritual connection, this is going to be the theme over the next year, and what people are going to be guiding towards and looking towards. And I think relocation and astrocartography is just so key. And so if you've wanted to be an astrologer, if you've wanted to, be an astrocartographer, or be a, someone to help others, to hold space for others, to lead community, hold a membership, maybe it's a community event or something, whatever it is you want to do, this is the time for it. Jupiter in Cancer is the time for it, and with the North Node in Pisces especially. That's amazing to hear. I'm so glad to hear that you like it and that it's been an amazing program for you, and that you've been able to get clients from it and learn so much from it. So yeah, thank you for sharing all that with me.
Oh, of course. Like it's so worth it. And that's what I was going to say. There's so many people out there doing different kinds of things like this, but I think the model that you've chosen is the most fair in many ways.
Mm.
It's very fair to people because lots of months all I need is less than one session to come through to like pay for the membership, right? To make it
Yeah.
worth it every month. And it's a steal of a deal. And oftentimes I get 3 or 4 sessions from people who come from you, right? And it's been such a blessing to me and my family in creating steady income, because I'm always like, oh, they either heard me on a different podcast or they came from Helena, right? Like these are where people come from.
Yes.
And I have loved it. It's been a blessing for me. And I just think the education, you continue to update the certification, which is
Mm.
amazing. I love the updates.
Yeah.
I love the depth that you have. And that's what I was going to say. I've been in other programs. I've taken other courses. I've worked for lots of other people and their astrology programs, but none of them are like special. And I feel like yours is actually special. Like it's
Wow.
actually deep and it's actually will help anybody who does it, and you just have such a depth of knowledge. And literally, it's like you hold everybody's hand. I was like, wow, she's like doing a lot of like this course is like a lot of hand holding, not in a bad way, but it's
Yeah.
like you give anybody everything, like every single secret they'd ever need. And I felt like I learned a lot in those ways as well, even as a practiced astrologer, right? It was really helpful. And so, yeah, I'd say it's worth it every time.
Oh, I can't tell you how much this means to me. I have Chiron in my 11th house and rulers in the eighth. Like, it's not the easiest placement. So I really, really appreciate you sharing all this with me. It really just makes my Leo moon heart feel so seen and so grateful. And this work needs to get out to more people, because I think more people are moving and relocating. And I think this is going to be a huge theme over the coming years. And so, yeah, getting more astrocartographers out there to support all the more people who are relocating. It's incredible. Where can people find you? How can people book with you, find your work, the Feminine Alchemist? Tell me all about that.
Yeah. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm at Astrological Attorney, just one word, Astrological Attorney. That is my website as well, www.astrologicalattorney.com. If you want to join the school, it's on my website. So it's there, but you can also listen to our podcast, which is called Feminine Alchemy. So not Feminine Alchemist, but Feminine Alchemy. And the school is called Feminine Alchemist. But we're available on all platforms, Spotify, and we're just doing like some new rounds opening up in the school. So if people want to come and learn more and connect more to their feminine energy, transform their shadow, right, alchemize into their authentic self, learn the mysteries, then come find me. And of course, for all things astrology, you can find me there as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been such a pleasure having you on the podcast. And for everyone listening, be sure to listen to the episode on her podcast as well, Julie's podcast. I was on her show as well. It's a great episode. It was so much fun chatting with you over there as well.
Yes, you as well. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for allowing me to be on your platform and like chatting and just
Yeah.
being such a great friend as well.
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm giving you the biggest hug.
Hug.
I wish I could. There we go.
Computer hug.
Amazing.